How the heck are you, everybody? I'm Fastidious. Welcome to my channel and welcome to my least favorite Codex boss, the Furious Torrent. It's this Fastidious boss over here. I don't enjoy it, but we're gonna get in and we're gonna see how well we can do with only an epic lord. Part of this is a challenge because everyone, and I mean literally everyone, uses a legendary lord. It is Yovar for days with the very occasional Aracha-cha, you see? Not a single epic lord in sight. To my knowledge, no one's ever even gotten triple S on this torrent boss with an epic lord. I've gotten double S, as you can see. If you've gotten S+ with an epic lord, reach out to me. I'd be really curious how you did it, because I've been working my butt off for a couple hours live on Twitch. Check it out, twitch.tv/fastidious_GG. It was a lot of fun. We had a lot of help from the viewers. Destin came by. This is one of his favorite codexes, so he gave some tips. And this is the best we got, which I'm pretty happy about. My previous best was a low S+. Now we have a moderate, about 100,000 points away, double S. Let me show you how I did it and how you can maybe adapt it to your own account to succeed in this boss with, unfortunately, not the perfect meta heroes. We have a great lineup here, don't get me wrong, but all the top teams have a million awakenings and they all have a minimum of Araka and the very common maximum of Yovar. As you can see, we are going to use Eliza. This is for two reasons. Well, it's her or Luneria. You've got to use a Lord. The Lord skill from the epics is pretty underwhelming. It is just a 10% faction team member attribute boost. And then on top of that, you get that extra additional range on your heroes. That is essential because any of your non-AoE long-range marksmen can't even reach the boss without this. So if you're going to run Silas or Sargok or something like that, you absolutely need this. Even if you're gonna run an Idril or a Brienne, on a younger account. This is essential. On top of that, we're choosing her over Luneria because she deals piercing damage. All of the units that we're up against have light armor, and they're constantly having their magic resistance raised and raised and raised, along with their defense, but it becomes really difficult by the end of the fight to succeed with magic damage. So we've chosen Eliza. There'll be some cycling techniques as well, so we can keep redeploying her to get this 40-second ultimate, which with 2 kills can go up to 50 seconds the first 2 times. She'll do a little bit of damage, but mostly, as you'll see, she's in like DPS Invig gear. She gets a little bit of DPS out, but she's also going to place an invigoration buff on our Razak, of all people. The placements in this are very particular. If you're struggling, I encourage you to move your heroes around, try out different placements. There's not that much nuance that goes into this fight. That is kind of why I don't enjoy it so much. You've got the merry-go-round of fish one way and then the other way. You can time things out to take advantage of the purple fish that gives you rage boosts and the green fish that gives you a heal. But all in all, it's not so much ult timing as it is finding nice placements for your team, for your comp, and hoping it works. You just heard me mention how important piercing damage is. You will see we are bringing one magic damage hero, and that is Fastidious, the namesake, the model of the boss. It's Fastidious versus Fastidious crime. However, we're not using him for his magic damage. He's going to place a good amount of radiant erosion over here with his talent, as well as during his ultimate. This is true damage based on the target's defense. As the defense of the boss and all the little fishies flying around gets ramped up over the course of the fight, this gets stronger and stronger. And then the very key use is going to be the first part of this talent. He summons a tide every 12 seconds, dealing 200% true damage to targets in range, with again that 30% chance to inflict the radiant erosion. Those waves of true damage will happen quicker and quicker as the battle goes on, and it's the only real way we're dealing some damage at the end of the fight. We don't make it to the very end though. However, as you adapt this strategy to your own account, if you have Fastidious and you can pair him with a decent team and then Yovar and Araka, it's huge. It's very significant, and you'll notice every top team is using him. Aside from that, it is very simple. The best single target piercing damage hero in the game, Silas, and then the 2 best AoE piercing units, piercing marksmen. We've got Razak and Nyx. For awakenings, my Silas is at a 3, my Razak is at a 2, my Nyx is at a 1, my Fastidious is at a 0, and then we've got our 2 epics at a 5. That's going to be the comp, guys. I really hope it helps. Let's get into the video. I'll show you the gear quickly, and then we're going to do a run. Hopefully we break 1.4 million. I've been stuck here for about an hour. Maybe this is going to be the run.
Fastidious. Fastidious.
All right, let me show you gear very quickly. I already showed you Eliza. She's in a decent DPS build, but most importantly, wearing an Invig set so she can buff Razak. You'll see when we do deployments. Then we've got my best Soulbound Arcana with a ton of attack on Silas. We really want to take advantage of the fact that he's shredding defense, but also having a very high attack to really deal a ton of direct damage to the boss, especially at the beginning. That allows us to rack up a higher number. Here are the total stats. You can see. Pause it if you need. And then for the artifact, we have a maxed out Spirit Siphon. I also have his exclusive at promotion level 1. However, we don't need this condition that it's triggered without killing enemies because there's tons of enemies to kill in his range during this fight. This artifact is much more geared towards boss content. And yes, this is boss content, but this is boss content with tons of mobs. This is better for something like Guild Boss 1 or Guild Boss 2. And even then, at Promo 1, I think it's inferior to a Spirit Siphon. If you don't want to run a Spirit Siphon, I highly suggest using a Reaper's Emblem, or if not a Reaper's Emblem and you want to go Legendary, just snag an Idril's Gaze or a maxed out Broken Nightmare. On to the next hero. Now we've got Pelagios, the Weirdo. For him, I want his attack pretty high, but I didn't want to totally ignore crit damage. You'll see he's wearing my worst Soulbound Arcana set of the bunch that's wearing Soulbound Arcana. It's not too shabby. We got the stats pretty darn high, but really we want him going decently fast so we can trigger a lot of ults, get the opportunity to place Radiant Erosion, and then we just want him to be in the battle, succeed, and he'll get stronger and stronger as it goes on. For his artifact, I'm running him in a maxed out Sharpshooter's Crest. Let's go to our next hero. We've got Razak. Very simple here, just like Silas, very high attack in Soulbound Arcana. I find very high attack for him specifically really important because he's one of our heroes that is not in Dolores range, whereas Pelagios is, whereas Nyx is. Silas is not, Razak is not. I've experimented with all combinations. This is what I found to be the best. Here are your total stats. And for the artifact, I happen to have his exclusive at promotion level 3, so I want to be cognizant of when I use his ultimate, because every time after I use it, we are going to get increased damage dealt by 35% for 15 seconds, which is pretty darn significant. Now, the star of the show, the #1 DPS for this fight, full stop, we have got Nyx. Unfortunately, my Nyx is only A1. If you're fortunate enough to have an A5 Nyx, this is completely busted. 1 in 2 times, she's doing a double hitter on her basic. Almost everything in her kit counts as basic, so that is enormous, and it is AoE damage, obviously. She is the queen of this fight, period, but then if she's A5, definitively. So you can think of it this way. Every 2 hits on average, she's putting out 3 hits. It's so wacky. I actually have had A1 Nyx for an incredibly long time, but I haven't pulled her in over a year. I looked into it. If anyone remembers my Nyx up video, it's very funny. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. It's very sad. That's Nyx. I've got her exclusive, which is by far the best artifact for her, especially for this. That penetration is huge. Unfortunately, mine is at base promotion, but this is still really viable. I am running her in Infernal Roar. For this fight, Soulbound Arcana would still be a little bit better, but I only had so much good Soulbound Arcana, and she's the only real top choice besides Silas that could succeed very well in Infernal Roar. You know, if I had to test it a bit more, I might try putting the Infernal Roar on Silas and the Soulbound Arcana on Nyx. Maybe I'll do that at the end of this and we can see. But for now, this is what she's rocking. Very, very high attack, and then looking for some crit damage and a lot of attack speed. Here are the total stats. Finally, let me show you Dolores. Dolores over here is very typical. Invig, attack bonus with big flat attack. Same for every single piece, very simple. Now big attack bonus, and now big flat attack and attack bonus. She's in a maxed out Golden Scarab, which definitively is her best artifact in the game for this fight. If you don't have it, use the epic artifact, Keen Wisdom, max that thing out. No reason not to. This is a very high-end Dolores build. I've got her at over 14,300 attack. That's about as high as you're gonna see. You can get up to like 14.5, 14.6, but we're getting towards the ceiling. Very, very good build. Without further ado, let's head into battle. Alrighty, I have raised myself out of the way so you can see the quick cast ultimate buttons that will appear here. Let's head into battle. Obviously, the first thing we must do is deployments. We have 2 Invig heroes, Dolores and Eliza, so very important we place those strategically. First things first, we're going to place Nyx here. Then we're going to place Dolores right above. She places Invigoration on Nyx. Then we can place Razak here. Then we're going to place Eliza right underneath. And we're actually going to pick her up right away because her ult is triggered when she's deployed. We don't need her ult right now, but you'll see the Invigoration buff is on Razak. Next, we can play Silas, and finally, Fastidious. I'll move it so I'm not in the way. Don't have to look at my head. You can focus on the battle. I will quickly ult with Razak and quickly ult with the Fastidious. That's just to get us to the end of this faster, but I'm not going to ult again because I want to let all the ults line up for when we finish this initial boss phase before the boss rush phase. As you see, we're not getting any points right now. That doesn't happen until we take this bar down. We don't need it now, though. I'm also going to sit on redeploying Eliza because why would I do it now? We don't need her damage. He's going to put these spikes up, these tridents. As soon as we kill them, they'll go in towards him, and he's basically going to die. Now I'm going to keep it on 1x, and I'm not going to start attacking until right after we're able to start attacking. He has this invulnerable state. I'm kind of keeping my eye on Silas. There you go. As soon as Silas starts to go, we go Silas, Razak, Nyx, Dolores, Fastidious, and now we place Eliza. Eliza's ult will last for 40 seconds. As soon as it's up, we want to pick her up off the battlefield. It's pretty tricky because you're keeping your eyes on so many things with all the fish flying around to remember to pick her up, but remember to do it if you can. She's going to have the ult for 40 seconds. Once she turns not invisible, you know it's over. It can be 50 seconds if she gets 2 kills, if you have her A5. But yeah, try to be cognizant of it. It's not the end of the world. She doesn't deal so much damage. She's not very key, but every little bonus can be helpful, especially if you're trying to get from like one tier grade to the next. If you are stuck between an S and an S+, for example. All right, let's go. There is the purple, as you can see. So when you kill the fish with the purple flower on it, you get half your rage bar back to every deployed unit. Ideally, you want to time that out when everyone is less than 50% or in the middle of ulting, so they'll get that added on after their ult. It can be really tricky. However, saving the ults for right when he wakes up and you start the boss rush is strategic because no one had any wasted rage. They were all under 50%. We're about ready to go again, so now let's really focus up, clamp down, and get into this battle. Let's ult with Fastidious. I am going to ult immediately with Razak, even though there's no one here. However, after this ult, we're going to start trying to be a lot more thoughtful. But like I said, this battle can be as simple as ult spamming unless you're really trying to min-max it. There's not so much technique going in. It really comes down to your specific gearing, your specific placements, and how lucky you have been with heroes. Do you have many Awakenings in Nyx? Do you have Yovar or at least Araka? Or do you not? You know, and at least I do have some really meta units in a Razak and a Nyx and so on. But yeah, those are kind of the key determinants as I see it. Let's continue. We can ult with Dolores right away. The next purple flower is going to be coming from the right over here. Razak is a little bit behind on his rage, but he always is, so there's nothing we can do. Ult with Silas. See, Eliza just came from being invisible, so her ult's over. We can pick her up. About 40 seconds. Maybe we're 1 or 2 seconds late. Let's ult with Fastidious. Ideally, we want to get Razak's ult off before he kills the pink flower that's about to come. Sometimes we're lucky enough to do it. Sometimes we aren't. You can see he's at 95. We should just make it. It really bothers me how tight it is. There we go. We got it off. So you'll see Razak's at 1%. Now he's going to do his AoE. He kills the flower with his ult, and everyone's back up. So we do Razak's up to 60 now. We'll do Dolores, Fastidious. Pretty good lineup between Dolores and Nyx. Nyx's ult is far longer, right? It's 30 seconds, 35 seconds at A1. And Dolores over here, you can see she's at 22 seconds like always. This is a pretty good start to the run. Not so much more to explain, just being cognizant of the pink flowers when we can, but there is RNG, like did the AoE land over here or over here? Did you kill it right before you were going to have a max ult bar or right after you used an ult? Those little things can kind of throw it all off. If you want to succeed at this, you can just run it over and over and over on auto once you have a decent run set up, and then eventually you'll get like a perfect RNG run with some really nice timings and a really good point result. Let's use Razak there. All right, starting now, we kind of have to focus on when he puts the tridents up, because if we don't get those down quick enough, the run's going to fall apart. So we'll be thoughtful about that. See, tridents are up. Let's use Fastidious. Here comes a pink flower. You can see Nyx is just over half, so we're going to waste a little bit of rage. But if we get the kill soon, it won't be too much. And Dolores should line up perfect because she's at 36. So here the pink flower pops. So Nyx went from like 77 to 100, but Dolores went from 49 to 99. So that's great. Let's trigger these ults. If we hadn't gotten these tridents down, I would not have used Razak's ult, but we did, so we're okay. We got all the tridents. They all go in to hurt him. Very nice. So here he does his big AoE slam. It scales on how many tridents are still up. So early on in the fight, like now, we can tank it just fine because we killed all the tridents. Later on, it eventually wipes us. So here comes Razak. This is lining up pretty well. Throw this on 1x. We want to make sure Razak does this ult when the pink flower's in his range, which it is. Pink or purple, whatever it is. He's going to, I think, just be short of a one-shot. Eliza also finished off. Was just out of range. That actually just sucks. Let's pick up Eliza. So that's very unfortunate. Let's get Dolores stunned before Sylas kills it. Hopefully Sylas does kill it. You can see Sylas isn't ulting, so that actually lineup was really bad for us. So that just shows you the little moments of RNG. That time, Razak was just late. Kind of is what it is. Can you tell it's not my favorite content? So little waste on Pelagios, but everything else worked out. Let's trigger, let's trigger, let's trigger. We got to get these tridents down. And actually, a couple tridents were still up. It's too bad, but we are at S+ already. We should be able to get our SS. Not as high a score as I would like. There's our pink flower. Can we get it killed? No. Do you see that? It's just like, oh, the hit didn't go exactly when you wanted it to. Hopefully Sylas can pick these guys off. They're very low health. So Sylas should get this. Nope. Now he's just doing for nothing. These guys do get tankier and tankier as the battle goes on. We're actually going to stall out right before double S, I believe. Not too much we can do unless Razak gets this ult to kill that trident. He did. We're going to be just short, guys. Trigger, trigger. Can we kill one more trident, maybe? If we could, we would get it. Yes, there we did. Okay, so 1.32. So still a pretty good run for us, right? That's about 70,000 off of my max. You get the idea of how it goes. Now you understand how those pink-purple flowers work. The timing of those is very key. If you can find ways to control it like we did at the beginning of the fight, that's excellent. But little instances of RNG, like did this hit go here? Did this thing die fast enough or did it die too fast? It can throw it off. I do want to try one more thing though. So let's save those deploys because they were pretty good deploys. Let's try to switch Nyx and Sylas's gear and see what that looks like. But at the end of the day, you can already see pretty darn successful. For an epic lord to get double S, 2 points off the top point reward. Obviously, we're a good ways off of triple S. But you could see with some gear upgrades and certainly with maybe a few more awakenings, maybe a few more promotions into our exclusive artifacts, SS Plus I do think would be in the cards. I'm really curious if triple S is even possible with an epic lord. I think it is nigh impossible. I do. Let's head back into battle very quickly. Let's just switch the gear on Sylas. Very simply, we can swap it with Nyx. And let's see, maybe Nyx is going to do a lot better with the Soulbound Arcana and Sylas will be just as good with the Infernal Roar. Only one way to find out. You'll see now Nyx does have this one piece with crit damage. Shouldn't be the end of the world though, because she's in Dolores range. Hopefully it goes pretty darn well. Let's throw it on auto. And let's see. I'm going to let the auto run till the end of this initial kill phase right before the boss rush. Then we'll do the beginning together, and I'll probably 2x it or 3x it until things are getting hairy, at the 2-minute 30-second mark, something like that. So we'll wait till these tridents come up. He does his surge. Tridents come up. Let's resume the fight. Let's try to get this initial thing perfect, right? So throw it on 1x. He stands up. Everyone, we wait till they start attacking. There we go. Boom, 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 and boom. Get Eliza down. All right, so I'll time it all out well. I'll pick it up at like 2 minutes, 45 seconds or something, and we'll see if we can do a little bit better switching Sylas and Nyx's gear. All right, I think this is a good time to pick it back up. I do think the rage is going to get messed up with Dolores right now. Not this time, but the time before, she didn't get her 33% rage back, the 300 rage towards her ultimate, which means now she's behind, and there you go. She went from 75 to 100, so that's pretty inefficient, but it is what it is. Nyx needs to ult, though. I don't know why it's glitching like that. All right, there we go. Eliza's ready to come back out yet again. Let's see if we do better this time or if we do worse. I honestly don't know what to expect. It's really hard to quantify. I realize I didn't show you the stats at the end of the last battle, but this one's looking really similar, so I will show you certainly after this. It's hard to always tell where the damage is coming from. A final thing is people may look at Pelagios and see the actual stats. His damage doesn't look that high, but the Radiant Erosion and the true damage he puts out on the boss doesn't get counted for some reason. I don't know why. It does not show up visually very clearly. At the beginning, before the boss rush, you can see the debuff icon for Radiant Erosion, but aside from that, it doesn't show up, even though clearly he's placing it later on. And a lot of the true damage I don't think is showing up either, so there's no real good indicator, and there's such a flurry of numbers at all times, you can't really see what's coming from where. That's another big issue I have with this fight. Kind of is what it is, though. So it really just takes a lot of tinkering and a lot of trial and error to understand where everything's coming from. There's the purple flower. Rozhok looks like he is going to be ready, unlike last time. Let's hammer him as soon as it's possible. Please get that hit out. The delay between triggering Rozhok's ult and it happening is, it has to be bigger than anyone else in the game, because at least Setram, you can visually see him spinning around. I guess here we can see the tentacles. Maybe it's those two are in a league of their own, but it's pretty remarkable. He just is about to kill the purple, so look at that. We went from 94 to 100 with Dolores. Horrible timing. It really is what it is, and it really is kind of the bane of my existence since you can't control where they're aiming or how to do it. I guess you could tinker with attack speeds and rage regens if you really wanted to optimize and you had a ton of gear to work with. But I think for the average account, you just kind of have to try over and over again and suck it up, for lack of a better word. Rozhok's struggling with these tridents over here as well, so that's going to be an issue this run. Does look like we're pretty much a shoo-in. He got one at least. We're pretty much a shoo-in again for double S, I hope. It's looking pretty good. We can tank that all right. Let's see what we got. We got a little Pelagios. It's hard to tell. It seems like we're doing slightly worse, if I'm being honest. Ideally, so this is a good moment. Like, you want to get Rozhok off before there are too many fish in the way, because maybe he'll actually kill these tridents. You can only target so many. He just missed them. You see, that's frustrating. Let's get Eliza here. Maybe she can pick off that last trident we're missing. Pelagios, Silas, and we did get our double S. About the same score, even a little better. So I actually think this switch did help us. Nearly got wiped, but we didn't. We picked off enough tridents, so we might have an opportunity to get that 1.4 that has evaded me the whole day. And when you're at the end of the fight like this, if you do make it, you really want to try to just get a couple tridents down. So I don't want to use Rozhok now, even though I can't. You want to see if there's a window where I could get the AoE out on these tridents. It's not going to be enough, though, since he hasn't hit them at all yet. Another thing is you don't really want to pick, even though she's still invisible, even if she wasn't, this deep in the battle, it doesn't matter about picking up Eliza. You know, hey, we passed 1.4 because, you know, we're not making it much further anyway. But this did end up being our best run, so I actually think the Infernal Roar on Silas, the Soulman Arcana, and Nyx was the way to go. And there you go, 1.43. Not too shabby, in my opinion, for, for a pretty imperfect team with no Legendary Lord. Pretty happy with that. I will try to get the double S plus, get that SS plus eventually. We'll see how brutal that's going to actually end up being. But you can see how far triple S feels from here. I do think with some attack speed adjustments, some rage regen adjustments, really min-maxing it, we could have timed it so Dolores didn't get screwed those 2 times. But also remember, we're always going to be at the mercy of Dolores RNG and whether her passive is triggering that 80% of the time or we're getting that 20% unlucky moment exactly when we don't want it. Let's look at those stats and let's see how we did. Nyx is going to be number 1, but Rozhok's pretty clean behind her. He does a really good job. Something to consider before you say, oh, Nyx is as good as Rozhok. Rozhok is as good as Nyx. Rozhok was dealing all the damage for his side basically because Eliza ain't doing much, whereas Pelagios was obviously eating into Nyx, but he was holding his own, and if you time it out well, it's pretty good. Silas, pretty darn low, having him outside of Dolores range, but still functional. And then I have to say, this 28.7 million for Pelagios is just a lot. They're just not counting a ton of the true damage from his waves based off of his attack, a ton of the true damage from the Radiant Erosion based on the target's defense. It's bizarre to me, but he's far more significant than this. That's the team, guys. Double S, 1.435 million with an epic lord. Let me know if you have any questions. I really hope this helps. We have 1 more day left in this rotation. It is not a fun boss. Hopefully this guide can make it a little more fun and you can find a bit more success. Guys, I've been Fastidious. If you like my stuff, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, share it with your mother, and I'll see you real soon. Bye.
Fastidious.